welcome to a little fireside chat with the creators of Alas for the Awful Sea. This is Veronica and Hayley. And we've just played the game and we had an absolute ball. A bunch of you were there listening and giving really unhelpful advice on the chat. So thank you for that. But your company is Story Brewers?
Story Brewers Roleplay.
And Alas for the Awful Sea is on Kickstarter right now until February 22nd. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So what's your role in Story Brewers?
In Story Brewers, I do all of the graphic design. I do a lot of anything picture graphic design is me, and I also do a lot of the conceptual work with Hayley.
Right.
Hayley does.
And your design?
And I do the game design with Veronica, and I also do most of the actual typey writing.
Yeah, right.
Boring research.
Yeah, right.
Not boring.
No, all right. Well, let's talk about it. I mean, the setting is fantastic. It's mystery and it's tension and it's it's got a wonderful kind of gritty realism to it. Yet there's magic and there's elements of the beyond and this wonderful experience of stepping outside the real world and seeing things from an otherworldly perspective. Where did all these elements come together?
So for us, like the foundation and basis of the game would be what we were inspired by from the history and the problems that I saw coming through from the history that were really facing rural and remote communities during the 19th century. And the mythical and mystery element of the game sort of comes out of that directly for me. Because for me, the myth, a lot of the myth comes from the same time and place as the history. And myth and superstition was a way that people could think about problems that face them in their lives and sort of give those problems a name or a story or personify them in a way that helps them deal with them and understand them. And myth and mystery kind of has the same role in this game for me. So it kind of like extends the conflict or problems that the town is facing and sort of adds to that dialogue in a way that's also a really interesting experience and journey for the players.
Yeah.
I think you would have found out in the game that you played as well. A lot of those themes kept coming through in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was so surprised how much my character built upon himself.
Yeah.
And I think, the game's crafted really nicely to keep coming back to those really important character elements. So, and I didn't feel like the beyond was different to the real world. It kind of felt really integral and part of it.
Yeah, not for voice off stage.
Voice off stage.
Not for us, because and there was that moment where we were like, "Can't you hear that?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like, "What are you talking about?"
What are you doing?
We're streaming. And that was amazing because it was like, well, that is our reality, and especially because we both had the beyond different aspects of it, that it was our reality, and then when we realised we had that shared reality, it suddenly just clicked in. It was like, well, we are.
Yeah.
We're the same.
It's very
You have the blue eyes.
That's right. The blue eyes. All right. Well, we'll come back to the story and the vibe a little bit later on. But I want to just go down the stat route a little bit because, based off the apocalypse system, but you've got your own take on it as well. What kind of percentage? If somebody has played Apocalypse before, how familiar with this?
It would be extremely familiar. Like the basic moves are similar. They're just reworked so they're more in theme. And the character sheets is pretty easy to navigate. It's not a particularly difficult system. Apocalypse World is quite straightforward. But what we've done a lot of is the custom moves. Like the heart of Apocalypse World are all these custom moves that your characters can do.
Yeah.
That's unique to them.
Yeah.
We've actually unlocked in our stretch goals a new sort of module of descriptors, which Hayley's working really hard on at the moment. and you guys didn't get to play with them yet. Sorry.
Next
time,
game.
next time
Next
they'll
time.
be in there, and they also give you extra custom moves, so they'll even differentiate your characters even more.
Okay.
Yeah. if that makes
Alright.
sense.
Cool. And so the basic moves are all from Apocalypse system, or
So the only one that's different is Sense What's Beyond, because the Beyond is sort of a unique element to the city, the
Yeah, right.
setting of Alas, and that's the mystical element. So we created that new move because we really wanted a way for characters to connect with that. The other moves are like probably 80% the same.
yeah, okay,
Yeah, the basic moves.
yeah, the 80-20 rule. Fair enough. Okay, cool. And all right, so is there anything else that we should cover about the character sheets, or
About the bonds, the relationships.
the bonds, relationships? Is that Apocalypse?
So, Apocalypse World does also have bonds and relationships. I think the difference in our game is that, similar to Dungeon World, which is another game based on the Apocalypse World system.
We've had a number of requests for us to play Dungeon World, so
okay.
that's
We should
interesting that you
play
say
that.
that.
Definitely play Dungeon World.
Okay.
It is heaps of
More,
fun
get
and
more
it is,
requests.
Yes.
it is also hilarious. So I
Uh-huh.
think right up your alleys.
Fit with us, okay.
But we're very serious.
Yes, similar to that, we really wanted our relationships to change and progress. So at the end of each session, you have the option of scrapping one of your relationships and creating a new one. And you can also create relationships to NPCs as well, which I don't know if you can do in Dungeon World. But that was really important to us because part of this game is the connections you make to NPCs and the things that you do. Kind of like if you watch the game, Matthias and Amy. And so definitely if that game went on, Matthias would be creating a new relationship with Amy.
And have a new bond. And,
That reflects the changes that your characters go through in their relationship as time progresses.
Yeah, wicked.
It probably will go on, just we'll have to play it again.
Yeah. All right. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is the outcomes of some of these moves, and in particular the Sense What's Beyond. So it's always a challenge for game masters and storytellers, and what did we end up calling you?
Story brewers.
Story brewer. You know, it's like getting a glimpse of the future. How much do you give the player? So do you have a kind of a rule of thumb, or you know, with the visions that we got, it was always very vague and ambiguous. Is that the general rule?
It depends where you land on the roll. Like, of course, if you're getting 7 to 9, you're getting fragments, and I think
Yes.
that's mostly what you guys hit.
Yeah, I think
So
we
you've
never
got-
aced one of those
Yeah,
rolls.
so you guys, so
Really once.
I think
Yeah.
with
Once
the
you-
flipper or the
no, that was fragments.
That was a
Yeah,
fragment.
that was a fragment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I think the guideline is in the move itself. At 7 to 9, you're getting fragments. That should be enough to give you direction or a hint of where you need to go, but it's never going to give you the answer. On a 10 plus, I guess my rule of thumb is be generous with the information you provide and make sure it really drives the story forward, because the last thing you want is to have a mystery that
No
you
one
know
can
you have to
solve.
try really hard or do A, B, and C to solve. It's more like, hey, what's going to be interesting and fun? Give the players that.
yeah.
And I think each GM will vary a bit in their style. So some people give more or less, but I think a lot of GMs sometimes are reticent to give a lot of information because they think that they need to withhold some of it. But sometimes it's actually more fun to give the players all of that information and see what they do with it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so we ran a session and that lasted maybe sort of 6 hours or 5 hours. Is that a kind of a good adventure length as a time?
So we were playing the core adventure, which, as you guys may have noticed, can go on a bit longer than the 2 sessions. I've run that into 4 sessions quite comfortably, and there was some material that we didn't get to with you guys. But when you are running the game, you can create your own story arcs, which we call families. just because in my mind a story arc is sort of like a collection of ideas and materials that are all related, and those can last as long or as short as you want. It's sort of a game that naturally rolls on, given the consequences of things that
Well, we kind of
previously
mashed
happened.
the
Feels
Amy
like that.
Provost's wife into one. And
Yeah, and that's
you could have done those quite successfully separately
Yeah.
without actually them intersecting at all.
Yeah, that felt very kind of natural.
It did.
as
Well,
well.
yeah, certainly my character's way of messing
Well.
things up.
like I think that's also part of the idea in the core adventure. It's that, like I was saying to you guys earlier, everything should mash together.
Yeah.
It's not like distinct things that you sort of knock over one after another. All of the problems create all of the problems for all the other problems, and that's what I find most fun.
Yeah, it felt like you shine a light on a gem and it scatters in all these different directions,
Yeah,
but all the light
exactly.
comes from the one gem, and yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, that's
I like
a
that.
cool way of thinking.
yeah. All right, cool. So how many of those scenarios are going to come with the basic set? Do we
I think
know?
we've got 4 at the moment,
Okay.
if I'm counting correctly.
So we've got the
So-
core adventure, plus we've
I'm writing
unlocked
one.
2
We've got a guest
exclusive
writing.
Kickstarter ones. That's a
Okay.
reason to get the Kickstarter. And then there is another one as well.
Right.
which we've unlocked. So that's 4, including the core.
Yeah, right. So there's going to be lots of material to
Yes.
to do.
And on top of that, we're also unlocked, as the stretch goes, chapters to the book about folklore and about history. So if you need inspiration, you want to create your own story, there will be lots of
Okay.
go-to material as well.
Yeah, lots of reading stuff.
Also,
okay.
it's the era of the Gothic novel. You know, you got Frankenstein and you
Kind
got
of hard to run out of
all of
stuff.
that. You're not going to run out of stuff at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I kind of really like the sort of isolation. You touched on that earlier, but that's what really kind of, there's the isolation of being on the sea and being exposed to the elements like that. And then when we got to the town felt very isolated and very, insular, and it felt like there was all of this, you can't do anything in this town without everybody finding out about it and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. So, yeah, that feeling of isolation kind of carried through for me, and that was really cool.
Cool.
So this is the character sheet as they currently stand,
Yes.
and Maury is going to be one of these characters. Is that right? Yeah.
Correct.
Definitely.
So as a premium backer, Mary caught the last portrait on the character sheet.
Yep.
And so if you want to see Murray, in
Oh,
something else we'll see, purchase the Kickstarter down below. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything else you want to touch on about this?
Well, just to thank everyone who has backed us, and
Yeah.
it's been like really lovely meeting these guys, and
Likewise.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are you got
We're
about
blown
500
away.
backers? Not quite 500?
400-ish.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's make it 500.
Let's get it to
Let's,
5.
yeah,
Maybe
let's
1,000.
definitely,
Yeah.
Let's
Oh,
be ambitious.
let's definitely push it.
But yeah, we've been so lucky in the support we've received, and we're really thankful. So
Yeah,
No, an amazing game. Just
we're stoked.
really beautiful.
yeah, we like it. We like it.
Loved it. So thank you very much for coming out and sharing your game with us. The links to the Kickstarter are down below, and a link to your storyteller.
We've got a website, Facebook. We're both on Twitter as well. So.
All right, sweet.
sweet.
There you go. Thanks very much.
Cool.
Thanks.
See you around.